Everyone found a small table, 3 small horses, and some scattered cards in the ruins of the Tranquil Heart Cave. Mountain Master and Mountain Master Shin wailed loudly. It was as if they could still see the 3 of them playing cards in front of their eyes. The 2 rascals even had this note stuck on their foreheads. Who would have thought that the yin and yang would be separated forever? Mountain Master and the others dug hundreds of feet deep as if they had gone mad. Unfortunately, other than some stones from the meditation cave, they did not find anything. Everyone had no choice but to accept the fact that the 3 of them were dead. The disciples guarding the meditation cave were naturally punished by the sect rules, but what could they do? The 3 lively people lost their lives just like that. For a moment, the entire primordial chaos sect fell into a deathly silence. The speed at which cultivators built houses was very fast. In just 3 days, the destroyed houses of the primordial chaos sect were once again erected. It seemed that apart from the death of the scourge, there was no difference. The primordial murder sect was not far from the primordial chaos sect, so they were unable to escape this calamity and suffered heavy losses. When Master Xiahou heard that Yun Chujio was dead, he specially rushed over. Master Bailey told him what had happened. It was rare that Master Xiahou did not argue with him. Although that little girl had turned the primordial murder sect upside down, she had also saved the primordial murder sect once. Moreover, she had not made any major mistakes. It was just a small matter that did not cause any harm. He did not expect that she would die just like that. He felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Are you sure that he is dead? Didn't you say that the body was not found? Master Xiahou asked in a low voice. I can't contact him whether it's his identity jade token or the voice transmission talisman. There was a crack in the Tranquil Heart Cave, and the earth chi was surging. Most likely, he was injured by the earth chi and fell into the crack. Now, the crack has closed. Even if he didn't die at that time, he is now, alas, dead. Master Bailey let out a long sigh. Master Bailey and Master Xiahou both sighed. They didn't expect that the first time they spoke calmly was because of the news of Yun Chujio's death. Achoo! Achoo! Someone must be scolding me again. Senior brothers, I don't understand. Tell me, are the things I did so hateful? We are all missing and they are still scolding me. A certain Gio pouted and said, Junior Sister Gio, I don't think you should think about how they are scolding you. Shouldn't you think about how we can escape? And Lin Chuan said with a speechless expression. At this moment, the 3 of them were planted in the sand like 3 mushrooms. There was a huge egg not far away from them. There were tiny cracks on it, and it looked like it was about to hatch. Sigh. I also want to escape, but now, besides being able to talk, our bodies and spiritual power are restricted. I can't do anything. Fortunately, that big bastard wants to give us to that little bastard who is about to hatch as a reserve food. Otherwise, we would have died long ago. Yun Chujio said weakly. Thinking back, they didn't know whether they were lucky or unlucky. At that time, after they realized that the Tranquil Heart Cave was trembling, the 3 of them realized that the Earth Dragon had turned around. Yun Chujio knew that there was no time to waste. She was ready to take out a talisman to blow up the Tranquil Heart Cave. Unexpectedly, before she could take it out, a large crack appeared on the ground, and earth chi gushed out. Fortunately, the 3 of them had a lot of defensive spiritual artifacts on them, which gave them a moment to catch their breath. Just as they were about to exit through the opening of the Tranquil Heart Cave, a white light suddenly flashed, and the 3 of them instantly fainted. When the 3 of them regained their consciousness, they found that they had been planted in the sand like mushrooms. An incomparably huge turtle was staring at them from not far away. When the 3 of them thought that their lives were over, they did not expect the big turtle to not eat them. Instead, it lay there motionlessly. Later, when the big turtle went out to look for food, the 3 of them realized that the big turtle was hatching an egg. The 3 of them speculated that it might have felt that their tender skin and flesh were more nutritious and was prepared to save them for the little turtle to eat. The 3 of them were puzzled. They were clearly in the Cave of Tranquility, so how did they become the little bastard's reserve rations? The 3 of them could only move their heads left and right, so they could only discover that they seemed to be in a cave. As for where this place was, they had no idea at all. The three of them had seen the breed of the big bastard in the ancient records. It was a level 47 savage dragon-headed turtle, which was almost equivalent to the 9th layer of the ethereal space realm. Not to mention that the three of them were now imprisoned. Even if they were not imprisoned, there was no chance of survival if they encountered such a perverted demon beast. Sigh, let's pray that the little bastard won't hatch in a short time. That way we can live for a few more days. Yun Chujio said with a bitter face. She had thought of many possibilities, but she did not expect that she would feed it to the bastard in the end. Unfortunately, her big kitchen knife was still in her storage ring. Now, she could only use Guai Chao. Guai Chao could attract demon beasts, but it could only make the three of them die faster. How could she escape? At this moment, crack, crack, the crack on the egg grew bigger. It seemed that it was going to hatch soon. Yun Chujio and the other two looked terrified. When it hatched, it would be the day they died. Could it be that they could only feed it to the bastard? Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. There was no other way now. It seemed that she could only try to establish a spiritual connection with it. Although she could not establish a temporary contract without spiritual power, what if she could fool it? Every day that she could live was another day. Therefore, Yun Chujio sent out a wisp of spiritual sense to envelop the giant egg. When the little bastard had just broken out of its shell, Yun Chujio's spiritual sense entered the little bastard's spiritual sense, preparing to establish a spiritual connection with it. Originally, Yun Chujio was already prepared for failure. She did not expect the process to be unexpectedly smooth. It was possible that the little bastard had just broken out of its shell and its spiritual sense was still very weak, so Yun Chujio succeeded in one strike. Father! A soft voice came from Yun Chujio's spiritual sense. Yun Chujio's head buzzed and she almost fainted. What the hell is a father? That little bastard obviously only knew how to say this. He kept calling for his father and even crawled to Yun Chujio's side and gently nudged Yun Chujio's head with his head. Damn it! Stop nudging me! If you continue, my neck will be broken. Quickly pull your father out with your claws. This bastard was already incoherent. No matter what, he had to regain his freedom first. Although that little bastard had just been born, it was still a high-level demonic beast after all. Therefore, with just a few claws, it was able to pull Yun Chujio out. Yun Chujio discovered that once she had gotten out of the sand on the ground, not only could she move, but her spiritual power had also recovered. She did not know whether it was because of the sand, or if there was something underneath, or if it was because of that little bastard. Yun Chujio quickly commanded the little bastard to pull in Linchuan and the other two out. Both of them were dumbfounded. How could that little bastard listen to junior sister Jio? Just as the little bastard pulled in Linchuan and the other two out, the big bastard came back. The savage dragon-headed turtle was naturally very happy when it saw the little turtle breaking its shell. However, when it saw Yun Chujio and the other two being pulled out by the little turtle, it was very confused. On second thought, perhaps its son was hungry, so it planned to pull out the three people and eat them. As expected of its son, he was really smart. He knew how to cook when he was just born. Baby son, quick, come to daddy. The savage dragon-headed turtle shouted happily. The little bastard looked at the big bastard with disdain. It was really ugly. Then, it rubbed against Yun Chujio's side. The savage dragon-headed turtle, it felt that its son had just been born, so perhaps his brain was not very clear, so it said again, "Son, what's wrong? Don't you recognize Daddy? Daddy spent 3 years incubating you. Have you forgotten all about it?" The little bastard moved closer to Yun Chujio again. Why? Its father was clearly this beauty, not an ugly monster like you. The savage dragon-headed turtle was completely furious. Although the little bastard did not say anything, it could still understand the look of disdain in its eyes. Therefore, the savage dragon-headed turtle roared angrily, hoping to wake its son up. It did not expect that this roar would scare the little bastard so much that it trembled and disliked it even more. The little bastard used its 2 front claws to hug Yun Chujio's legs, and its eyes were filled with fear and disgust as it looked at the savage dragon-headed turtle. The savage dragon-headed turtle saw that its son, who had painstakingly hatched, would rather stay by the side of that human than see it. It was angry and sad. It could not understand why its son had fallen in love with that human. Was it because she was a female? It didn't make sense. His son knew how to find a wife right after he was born? Wasn't this too precocious? At this moment, it saw the little girl reach out her claws and wave at it. Lord Turtle, calm down first. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's talk? Although the savage dragon-headed turtle didn't think that this human little girl could say anything useful, it still roared angrily, meaning that it had something to say. Lord Turtle, you're son of a turtle? A certain Geo couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. This was really a son of a turtle. There would be a son of a turtle in the future. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were about to kneel down to this ancestor. What time was it? What were you laughing at? Go ahead and lie. A certain Geo held back her laughter with great difficulty. She continued, your turtle son might be the first one to see me after he hatches, so he probably thinks that I'm his mother. No, his father. Of course, it's impossible for me to have such a turtle son, so this is all a misunderstanding. I'll explain it to him properly and he'll understand. The savage dragon-headed turtle didn't believe her at first, but when he saw Yun Chujio say, father, instead of mother, he believed her a little. Their savage dragon-headed turtle clan had always been a male turtle that hatched eggs, therefore, when the little turtle was born, the first thing it called was father. The savage dragon-headed turtle only had such a precious son, so it naturally treasured it very much. Otherwise, it wouldn't have listened to Yun Chujio's words. Therefore, it growled in a low voice, indicating that it agreed with Yun Chujio's suggestion and wanted her to quickly explain the misunderstanding. Seeing this, Yun Chujio smiled and said to the little bastard, the one next to you is your father. Go quickly, go to your biological father's place. No, Ugly refused. The little bastard still held Yun Chujio's leg and refused to let go. That ugly thing was not its father. The savage dragon-headed turtle saw its son's disgusted look and began to feel sad. It growled in a low voice, making anyone who heard it feel sad and cry. Hey Shinjio rubbed her nose uncomfortably and kicked the little bastard. You son of a bitch. A dog doesn't care about its family's poverty, and a son doesn't care about its mother's ugliness. You actually think that your father and son are ugly? You really deserve to be taught a lesson. The little bastard was kicked so hard that it looked up to the sky. The savage dragon-headed turtle immediately felt sorry for it. It roared angrily at Yun Chujio twice. If it weren't for the fact that the little bastard had yet to accept it, it would have swallowed Yun Chujio directly. A kind mother is a spoilt child, and a kind father is the same. Why did you keep such a thing if you didn't teach it a lesson? You unfilial brat, what use do you have for it? Yun Chujio glanced at the savage dragon-headed turtle and said while pouting. In fact, this bastard was a little guilty. If she hadn't established a spiritual connection with it when the little bastard broke his shell, the little bastard wouldn't have clung to her and ignored the savage dragon-headed turtle. The savage dragon-headed turtle was stunned by Yun Chujio's words. How did the son of a turtle become the child of a bear? They were clearly not of the same breed, all right? After the little bastard turned over, its two small eyes looked between the savage dragon-headed turtle and Yun Chujio. In the end, it still firmly crawled towards Yun Chujio. The beautiful father looked more pleasing to the eye. When the savage dragon-headed turtle saw that its son once again firmly chose Yun Chujio, it was angry and sad. Therefore, it vented its anger on Yun Chujio and opened its big mouth to bite her. Before Yun Chujio could react, the little bastard blocked in front of Yun Chujio and screamed shrilly. There were water arrows shooting out from its mouth. Of course, his water arrows were nothing to the dragon-headed turtle of the wilderness. However, his son attacked him for the sake of outsiders. One could imagine how sad the dragon-headed turtle of the wilderness was. Yun Chujio touched her nose. Was it more appropriate to acknowledge a thief as her father? The bastard coughed and said, Master Turtle, calm down first. I think that when son of a turtle hatched, the first person it saw was me, so it couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. Send the three of us away. After a long time, son of a turtle will naturally know that you are its biological father. The savage dragon-headed turtle really wanted to eat Yunchujio and the other two, but it was afraid that the little bastard would hate it, so it could only nod and agree. Thus, the savage dragon-headed turtle led the way, and Yunchujio and the other two followed behind with the little bastard. Only then did Yunchujio realize that this was an island. No wonder the ground was filled with sand instead of soil. This was also the reason why the savage dragon-headed turtle was at ease and left the eggs in the cave to find food. Because it was the absolute king of this island, the other demon beasts did not dare to go near its cave. How could it have thought that it would be plotted against by the grain reserve? After exiting the cave, there was a beach. In the distance, there was a vast sea. It looked calm and peaceful, but Yunchujio knew that since there was such a perverted sea beast like the savage dragon-headed turtle here, then the sea was probably not very peaceful. This fellow tried the chopping board, but it could not fly at all. This meant that it was forbidden to fly here. It seemed that they could only take the sea route. It would be great if they could get the big bastard to give them a ride. Therefore, Hei Shinjio used her spiritual sense to say to the little bastard, "Bastard, let your father give us a ride. They'll give you candy to eat." The little bastard was a little confused. Wasn't she its father? How did she become its sister again? Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Although the little bastard didn't quite understand what Yunchujio meant, it was certain that it couldn't leave the beautiful father. Thus, it clung tightly to Yunchujio's leg with its claws, as if it wouldn't let go. Yunchujio laughed dryly. "Master Turtle, perhaps your son is a little reluctant to part with me. Why don't you give us a ride? He'll try to persuade it." The savage dragon-headed turtle really wanted to kill the little girl who had kidnapped its son, but it was afraid that the little bastard would hate it because of this, so it could only reluctantly nod its head. Yunchujio said a bunch of words of gratitude, then called out a big ship from her storage ring. The three of them boarded the big ship. Originally, the little bastard was going to follow, but it was pressed onto the beach by the savage dragon-headed turtle's claw. Then, the savage dragon-headed turtle suddenly opened its mouth. A huge mist pushed Yunchujio and the others' big boat out. Damn! She didn't mean to send them off. This stupid big bastard! Yunchujio wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The boat flew across the sea like a kite, and soon, the island turned into a xiaohei. However, this also indirectly showed that the big bastard's strength was simply unfathomable. It could blow the huge boat out so far with just one mouth. But no matter what, it had temporarily escaped disaster. Junior Sister Ninth, I've tried just now. The sound transmission talisman can't be sent out, and the other talismans can't be used. Moreover, we can't determine our current location, Shang Guanhao said with a frown. And Lin Xuan lay on the deck. Who cares where it is? Let's take a rest first. Anyway, I've finally seen it. As long as Junior Sister Ninth is here, we can turn misfortune into good luck and turn misfortune into good luck. Yunchujio, this person was really superstitious and confident in her. Shang Guanhao glared at Lin Xuan and then asked Yunchujio, "Junior Sister Xiaojio, what should we do next?" "You don't have to worry about food and drinks. I have plenty of them in my storage ring. Besides, we can also hunt. As for the direction of the voyage, the river usually flows from west to east. If we head west, we should be able to reach the coast," Yunchujio said confidently. Although this fellow was not that confident, her emotions could be contagious. If she slouched, Lin Xuan and Shang Guanhao would also lose their confidence. As expected, Lin Xuan and Shang Guanhao calmed down when they saw Yunchujio's confidence. However, Shang Guanhao still said worriedly, "Junior Sister Jio, what you said is easy. If we encounter a super high-level sea beast like the savage dragon-headed turtle again, I'm afraid we won't be able to escape death. Don't worry. The sea beasts all have their own territories. At least we'll be safe for a few days. We'll use these few days to study the countermeasures. There will always be a way. Are you hungry? Let's bathe in hot pot," Yunchujio said with a smile. And Lin Xuan, who was still dead, immediately jumped up. "Let's eat first. There's always a way. Besides, there's junior sister Jio. What are you afraid of? Yun Chujio couldn't help but ask, Senior brother, and may I ask why you are so confident in me? And Lin Xuan was amused. Junior sister little 9, it's because of your performance in Jingxin Cave. Also, you even fooled that big bastard. If you encounter other sea beasts, you can continue to fool him. Yun Chujio looked at Lin Xuan speechlessly. She really wanted to kick him into the sea. Continue to bluff? Bluff your head. If it weren't for the turtle's son in her hands, that wild dragon-headed turtle wouldn't have given her a chance to speak, okay? After the three of them finished eating, they sat together and chatted. Senior brothers, how do you think we ended up in this big bastard's nest? We were clearly in Jingxin Cave before. Yun Chujio said in confusion. Shang Guanhao said, I thought about it. There are only two scenarios. One is that there is a hidden teleportation array in Jingxin Cave, and it happened to be activated by the Earth Qi. The location of the teleportation should be random, so we were teleported to that island. The other possibility is caused by the Earth Qi. I have heard people say that there was such a situation before. When the Earth Dragon turned over, some people would appear tens of thousands of miles away. It's said that this is because the Earth Qi is connected, which is equivalent to a teleportation array. Although Yun Chujio had never heard of the second theory, she felt that it sounded quite reasonable. She asked, Senior brother Shangguan, where do you think we should be? Although I'm not sure, I think it's most likely in the sea of the ends of the earth. It's because it said that someone picked up a small piece of the shell of a savage dragon-headed turtle in the end of the world. It was so precious that it caused a sensation. And Lin Xuan pursed his lips. Senior brother Shangguan, stop bullshitting. A turtle shell the size of a copper basin can cause a sensation? Is that thing that valuable? I'm not bullshitting. The shell of the savage dragon-headed turtle is a good material for refining defensive spirit tools. The size of a copper basin can be used to refine many defensive spirit tools. If it's a good blacksmith, it's possible to refine an immortal tool. Tell me, is it precious or not? Shang Guanhao glared at Lin Xuan and asked. Before Lin Xuan could say anything, Yun Chujio stomped her feet in regret. Senior brother Shangguan, you should have said so earlier. If I knew that the shell of the savage dragon-headed turtle was so valuable, I would have tricked the bastard into giving us a piece. Shang Guanhao said speechlessly, Junior sister Jio, the shell of the savage dragon-headed turtle will only fall off when it dies or ascends to a higher-level continent. Even if you can trick it, it is impossible for the savage dragon-headed turtle to be given to you. Yun Chujio's focus was on the higher-level continent. She asked in surprise, Senior brother Shangguan, is there a higher-level continent than our immortal Yuan continent? Shang Guanhao looked at her as if he was looking at an idiot. If there is no higher-level continent, why do you think everyone cultivates so hard? If we stay in the immortal Yuan continent, even if we cultivate to the top, we can only live for a few thousand years. Only by ascending to a higher-level continent can we obtain a longer lifespan. The certain Jew really wanted to ask him, how many thousand years was that? She felt that it was already very long to live for a few thousand years, all right? 1,000-year-old tortoise with 80,000 years of age was almost as long as a tortoise, yet he was still not satisfied? However, that was also true. Previously, she heard from the remnant consciousness of Grand Ancestor Yuan Tian that he and Grand Ancestor Hong Yuan were more than 10,000 years old together, so each of them should be several thousand years old, and they should be the top existences in the immortal essence continent. There should be no one who could live longer than them. What's the name of the higher-level continent? A certain Jiao asked curiously. I don't know. Shang Guanhao's expression was as if it was natural. Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was so angry that she was twitching. She had thought that Shang Guanhao was reliable, but she didn't expect that he was even more unreliable than in Lin Xuan. What do you mean you don't know? If you don't know, why are you still talking about it? Shang Guanhao might have figured out what Yun Chujio meant, so he explained, Junior sister Xiao Jio, it's like this, because no one has ascended in our immortal Yuan continent for a long time. It must have been tens of thousands of years. Therefore, no one knows what the higher-level continents are like or what their names are. They must exist. Yun Chujio nodded. Maybe there was no higher-level continent at all. These people were just trying to make a big cake for her. Look, there's a black dot in front. Is there an island? We can spend the night on the island. It's safer than the sea. And Lin Chuan pointed to the front and said excitedly. Yun Chujio and Shangguan Hao looked in the direction of his finger. Indeed, there was a black dot in the distance. It grew bigger as they got closer. However, Yun Chujio soon realized that something was wrong. Damn it! How could an island move? It was clearly a huge sea beast. Yun Chujio rushed into the cockpit and sped up the ship. She deliberately changed the direction and hoped that the sea beast did not find the three of them. Unfortunately, although the sea beast was huge, its speed was extremely fast. Even if Yun Chujio and the others changed the direction, they were still blocked. And Lin Chuan swallowed his saliva. Junior sister Jios. This is a level 45 sky-swallowing whale. Although it is not as powerful as that big bastard, the three of us are not its match. What should we do? At this moment, a huge wave shot out from the nostrils of the sky-swallowing whale. Yun Chujio and the others were instantly thrown up several feet high, and then they were thrown upside down into the sea. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, one of them had a fire spirit root and the other a gold spirit root. When they were in the water, they were just like landlubbers. Although they didn't drown with the help of their spiritual power, they were just flailing around randomly. Yun Chujio quickly took out the water repellent bead and handed it to them. After the two of them activated it, they felt a little more at ease. No matter what, at least they would not drown. And Lin Chuan said excitedly, Junior Sister Jio, you actually have such a good treasure like the water repellent bead? You really surprise me endlessly. Moreover, you gave it to us just like that? I'm really touched. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. This water repellent bead is very expensive. When we are out of danger, you have to pay me spirit stones. Do you hear me? And Lin Chuan, let's feed the dog the feeling. At this time, the sky-swallowing whale also dived into the water, opening its bloody mouth and pouncing toward the three of them. The three of them swam forward desperately, but how could they swim faster than the sky-swallowing whale? Soon, the distance became very close. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes, took out a jar of ink and poured it into the water. Instantly, the sea water turned pitch black. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were completely impressed. Emma, Junior Sister Jio, was really full of bad ideas. How could she come up with such a devious idea at such a critical moment? They had to be convinced. Just as the two of them were about to swim forward with all their might, Yun Chujio signaled them to sink to the bottom of the sea. The two of them were stunned, but they soon understood what Yun Chujio meant. The sky-devouring whale would definitely chase after them with all its might. Who would have thought that they would hide under its nose? Smart. The three of them quickly sank. This sea area was very deep, and the deeper they went, the dimmer the light became. It was so dark that they couldn't even see their own fingers. The three of them could only hold hands and sink down, in case they got separated. Finally, the three of them stepped on the seabed. The three of them held their breath and didn't dare to make a sound, for fear of being discovered by the sky-devouring whale. After a full hour, the three of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. After such a long time without any movement, the sky-devouring whale had probably swam far away. Only then did Yun Chujio take out the luminous pearl to illuminate the place. She was stunned by the beautiful scene before her. There were actually countless rainbow corals growing here. The corals of various colors formed coral reefs of different sizes. Some small fish and shrimp were shuttling back and forth. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were also amazed. The Hunyuan sect was located in the inner land of the immortal Essence continent, so they rarely had the chance to see the sea, not to mention such a beautiful underwater scene. Junior Sister Xiao Jiao, what should we do next? If we float up, we might encounter the sky-swallowing whale again, but if we stay down there, our speed will be very slow. When will we reach the coast? And Lin Chuan lowered his voice and said, Let's swim for a few days first. It will be fine once we get out of the territory of the sky-swallowing whale. However, our journey will definitely be fraught with dangers. Everyone be careful. It was rare for Yun Chujio to put away her cheeky smile. She said seriously. And Lin Chuan and Sheng Guanhao nodded. Unknowingly, they had already regarded Yun Chujio as their leader. Although Yun Chujio was younger than them and Yun Chujio's spiritual power was lower than theirs. But they still felt that it was not wrong to listen to her arrangements. The three of them swam forward. Although it was a little tiring, they were in a good mood after seeing the scenery they had never seen before. Especially when a certain Jiao happened to find some large pearls scattered on the bottom of the sea. She was so happy that she almost shouted twice. Junior sister little Jiao, we have made a fortune this time. These are pearls produced by the seven-colored mussel. The market price is not cheap. When we go out, we will definitely be able to sell them at a good price. Sheng Guanhao could not hide his excitement. Yun Chujio nodded repeatedly. Haha, this is called no extreme bliss comes, we are going to make a fortune. However, this guy quickly understood the meaning of an idiom. Extreme joy begets sorrow. Just as the three of them were busy picking up the pearl, a huge suction force came over and the three of them were involuntarily sucked into a bloody mouth. It turned out that the sky-swallowing whale had quietly followed behind the three of them and successfully struck them. The three of them were sucked into the stomach of the sky-devouring whale along with the seawater. Yun Chujio shouted at Lin Chuan and Lin Chuan, use the sword to stabilize your body. If you get into the stomach, you will die. The two of them quickly followed Yun Chujio's instructions and stabbed the sword into the fish meat beside them to stabilize their bodies. At this moment, Yun Chujio had also fixed her own body. This fellow kept gasping for breath. Just a little bit more and he would have died. He was still too careless. Now, the problem was, how could they get out? The sky-swallowing whale ate from time to time. Sea water and sea beasts were constantly being swallowed. If they were not careful, they would be dragged down. They had to think of a way to get out as soon as possible. Junior sister Xiao Jiao, let's use a sword to cut the belly of the fish. We will go out after that. And Lin Chuan said. Yun Chujio did not say anything. It would be great if she could use a talisman to blow up the damn sky-swallowing whale. However, if she used a sword to cut it, it would take at least 10 days to half a month to go out. Moreover, she had to be wary of being washed into the stomach from time to time. It was not a good idea. Let's stabilize our bodies first, and then we'll make a long-term plan, Sheng Guanhao said to the two of them. Therefore, the three of them cut 3 holes in the fish meat, and the three of them temporarily settled down. Even though the three of them were tormenting themselves, the sky-swallowing whale was too big, so they were only slightly uncomfortable and didn't affect it much. Yun Chujio cut a piece of fish meat with the big kitchen knife and said, no matter what, we don't lack fish meat anymore. Moreover, it's fresh enough. And Lin Chuan and Sheng Guanhao were speechless. At this time, this guy still wanted to eat. Junior sister little Jiao, since there's no good way, let's start cutting. Anyway, it's just a waste of time. At most, we'll be out in half a month. Sheng Guanhao took out his sword and said as he cut. Don't worry, I seem to have thought of an idea. I want this sky-swallowing whale to let us out voluntarily. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and said, what idea? Since it has done everything it can to eat us, how can it let us go? Sheng Guanhao felt that Yun Chujio was bragging again. Yun Chujio smiled and then used her spiritual power to shout loudly, hey, big fish, how about we talk? And Lin Chuan and Sheng Guanhao looked at each other. How could the sky-devouring whale talk to her? Big fish, let me tell you, don't think that you have the upper hand just because we are in your stomach. If you irritate us, we will cut you open. This is nothing. I have a lot of poison on me. Do you think it will be easy for me to poison you to death? Yun Chujio continued to shout. And Lin Chuan was stunned. We can use poison to kill it. Sheng Guanhao glared at him and said in a low voice, how much poison does such a big sky-swallowing whale need to be effective? Besides, what if it poisons us to death? To say the least, if it dies and we don't escape in time, we might be eaten by other sea beasts. By then, we will be out of the wolf's den and into the tiger's mouth. And Lin Chuan was even more confused. If that's the case, why did junior sister Little Nine threaten to poison it? Shang Guanhao looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Of course it's a lie. At this moment, Yun Chujio continued to shout, "You've already eaten all three of us. It can be considered that you've had enough of your mouth. Why do you have to fight with us until both sides suffer? Now open your mouth and well crawl out of your mouth, and well all be happy. If you agree, you can call out." After a while, the sky-swallowing whale let out a roar, obviously agreeing with Yun Chujio's suggestion. And Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao were overjoyed. They didn't expect it to be so smooth. However, Yun Chujio whispered something to the two of them. The two of them were stunned and then nodded. Then Yun Chujio shouted, "Big fish, we are going to crawl towards your mouth. Don't have the bad idea of flushing us down with water. We have our own ways to deal with you." The sky-swallowing whale roared, indicating that it would not do that. The sky-swallowing whale's huge eyes were filled with viciousness. The three little ants were actually negotiating with it. When they climbed into its mouth, it would bite them to pieces so that they would not turn into demons in its body. This was the reason why it agreed to Yun Chujio's opinion. Otherwise, it was not stupid. Why would it be threatened by the three little ants? The sky-swallowing whale thought happily. It opened its mouth and waited for the three of them to come out and chew them into pieces. "Big fish, we are only 30 feet away from your mouth. You have to be careful. Don't shut up," Yun Chujio said as she crawled. The sky-swallowing whale was proud. This human girl was really stupid. If they were to cut it down one by one, it really wouldn't have a good way to deal with them. At most, it would be rolling violently in the seawater. It tried to rush them into its stomach. But now they had voluntarily sent themselves to their deaths. They were really courting death. Just as the sky-devouring whale was thinking, it felt something rushing towards its mouth. It hurriedly clenched its teeth, and with a crack, it bit the big rock in its mouth. Before it could react to what was going on, it felt an extremely itchy sensation in its nose. Chew! It sneezed several times. Then, it saw 3 humans being sprayed out. The little girl even said with a smile, "Idiot, is the big rock delicious?" The sky-swallowing whale was so angry that it almost turned white. This little girl did it on purpose. She did not intend to escape from its mouth in the first place. She had planned to escape from its nostrils. Damn it! Damn it! The sky-swallowing whale chased after her in exasperation. It had never been played like this before. Today, it had to kill the 3 humans to appease its hatred. "Junior sister Xiaojiu, you are really smart. If we really came out from its mouth, we would definitely be dead." And Lin Chuan said in admiration, "I am not stupid. How could we really come out from its mouth? We had better think of a way to kill it. Otherwise, it would be really uncomfortable to be chased like this." Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with a trace of sternness. And Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao felt that Yun Chujio had gone crazy. "Junior sister Little Jio, you don't have a fever, right? That's a level 45 sky-swallowing whale. Moreover, this is in the sea. How can we be its match? I still have a fire spirit root. I'm in the water. I'm just a good for nothing." And Lin Chuan said in annoyance, "We can't fight it head-on. We can outsmart it. Senior brother, and since you're so useless, you can be the bait. Senior brother Shangguan and I will be responsible for blinding the sky-swallowing whale's eyes. Once it loses its eyes, the rest will be easy," Yun Chujio said. And Lin Chuan was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He already said that he was useless, but he still asked him to be the bait. Wasn't that asking him to die? Yun Chujio stuffed a bunch of bottles and jars into Lin Chuan's hands. "It's full of dyes. When it's about to catch up to you, you'll scatter the dyes. You'll be responsible for running. You don't have to care about anything else." And Lin Chuan felt a little comforted. With these dyes, he would at least be able to buy some time. He asked worriedly, "Can the 2 of you really do it? Why don't we just run? With these dyes, we can at least hold on for a while." Yun Chujio shook her head. It's not a cure for the symptoms. The dyes will run out one day. Besides, I've tasted the meat of the sky-swallowing whale just now. It's very delicious. If we bring back such a big sky-swallowing whale, it'll be enough for us to eat for a long time. And Lin Chuan, I'm afraid that the last sentence is what you really want to say, right? After the three of them finished dividing the work, when the sky-swallowing whale approached the three of them, and Lin Chuan threw out a jar of dye and shouted, help! That damn stupid fish is going to catch up with us. Run. And Lin Chuan shouted and shouted to attract the attention of the sky-devouring whale. Shang Guanhao fired several wind blades at the whale. This was because the sky-devouring whale was too big of a target. Even with the dye blocking their vision, Shang Guanhao and Yun Chujio could easily find its position. The sky-devouring whale was trying its best to chase after Lin Chuan when it suddenly felt that its body was attacked by the wind blades. Although it did not cause any harm to it, the sky-devouring whale still shot several water arrows in Shang Guanhao's direction. After Shang Guanhao shot the wind blades, he followed Yun Chujio's instructions and sank a long time ago, so the water arrows didn't hurt him. Just as the sky-devouring whale was about to dive down to chase after Shang Guanhao, and Lin Chuan in front shouted, "Stupid fish, why aren't you chasing me anymore? Come and chase me." The sky-devouring whale roared angrily and simply left Shang Guanhao behind to chase after Lin Chuan. When it was about to catch up to Lin Chuan would sprinkle the dye, and Shang Guanhao would launch a sneak attack. After repeating this a few times, the sky-swallowing whale was completely enraged. It decided to eat the human ant that sprinkled the dye first, and then deal with the person who launched a sneak attack on it. However, there seemed to be something wrong, and Lin Chuan, who was in front of it, began to provoke it again. The sky-swallowing whale did not have time to think carefully and chased after it. And Lin Chuan did the same thing again. He sprinkled another jar of dye and swam forward desperately. The sky-devouring whale opened its big mouth and was about to suck Lin Chuan into its mouth when it vaguely saw a group of piglets charging at it. The sky-devouring whale was so shocked that it even forgot to close its mouth. A spiritual beast that turned into piglets? There was such a useless spiritual beast among humans? While it was in a daze, several purple lightning bolts sneakily flew towards its eyes and nostrils. The sky-swallowing whale let out a shrill cry. How could Yun Chujio let go of such a good opportunity? She kept shooting purple lightning bolts. Moreover, the piglets did not stay idle. They scrambled to pounce on the sky-swallowing whale's eyes and took a bite. The biggest weakness of the sky-swallowing whale was its eyes. Now that it had suffered a serious injury, it had basically lost half of its fighting strength. Yun Chujio and Shang Guanhao stepped up their attacks. And Lin Chuan had a fire spiritual root, so he couldn't do anything even if he was anxious. Yun Chujio shouted at him, "Senior brother, and use your sword to poke its anus." And Lin Chuan, "You can't bully me like this. If you don't want me to be bait, you'll have to poke the anus of the sky-swallowing whale." Junior sister Xiaojio, do you know that you'll lose him like this? The three of them fought with the sky-swallowing whale for more than 6 hours. The whale tried to escape midway, but it was blind and couldn't get rid of Yun Chujio and the other two. In the end, it reluctantly took its last breath. Before it died, it finally remembered that something was wrong. It had forgotten about that treacherous little girl. It turned out that she had been waiting for it to lose its footing in anger so that she could launch a sneak attack. Yun Chujio put the body of the sky-swallowing whale into her storage ring and said, "The smell of blood here will attract other demonic beasts. Let's retreat quickly." The three of them floated to the surface of the water. Yun Chujio called out the big ship. After the three of them boarded the ship, they moved forward at full speed. Junior sister Jio, wasn't that spiritual ship destroyed by the sky-swallowing whale just now? Where did you get another one? And Lin Chuan asked curiously. There's plenty of this damn thing. I'm so poor that I only have money left. A certain Jio said smugly. And Lin Chuan said weakly, Junior sister and Lin Chuan, since you don't lack money, then can you exempt the money for the water repellent bead? Yun Chujio glanced at An Linchuan. Senior brother, and I had already forgotten about this matter. You have reminded me, are you going to pay now or write an IOU? And Linchuan really wanted to slap himself twice, so that he would have to shut his mouth. Of course, Yun Chujio would not really want their spiritual stones. She only instructed the two of them not to tell anyone about the water-repellent bead. Of course, the two of them made a vow and agreed. And Linchuan felt that it was good to follow junior sister Jio. Not only could they have a good fortune, but they could also give her treasures. Such a good thing was hard to find even if one tried to look for it. This guy selectively forgot about being bait and poking his anus. Oh right, junior sister Jio, your spirit beast is it Piglet? Isn't the high-level materialization technique only able to materialize one spiritual beast? Could it be that you have learned the spirit power phantom technique, and those are all auxiliary beasts? Shengguan Hao had wanted to ask for a long time, but he didn't find the opportunity at the moment. Yun Chujio touched her nose. Ahem, my spiritual beast is a little special. Before Yun Chujio could finish her words, and Linchuan pointed to the distance in horror and said, Another sea beast has come. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and looked. Sure enough, there was a black dot rapidly approaching from the distance, and its speed was much faster than that of the sky-devouring whale. The hearts of the three people sank. This sea beast was probably even higher in level than the sky-devouring whale. It was deadly. The three people hurriedly sped up the speed of the spirit ship. However, no matter how fast it was not as fast as the demon beast behind it. The closer they got, the bigger the black dot became. Yun Chujio was suddenly stunned. Wait, wasn't that the big bastard? On its back was the little bastard who was obsessed with looks. What was it doing here? Could it be that the big bastard interrogated the little bastard and knew that it was her who was behind this, so it came to deal with her? Father! Father! The little bastard's voice came from the spiritual sense. Right when she left, she did not have the time to cut off the spiritual sense connection. From the sound of it, it didn't seem like she was here for revenge. Forget it, she couldn't outrun the big bastard anyway. Let's see what it came for. Therefore, Yun Chujio asked An Linchuan to stop the boat and then stood on the deck to wait for the savage dragon-headed turtle. After the savage dragon-headed turtle swam closer, the little bastard couldn't wait to jump onto Yun Chujio's deck. However, it clearly forgot that it was a bastard and not a toad. With a splash, it fell into the sea. The corner of Yun Chujio's mouth twitched. It was rare to see such a stupid bastard. It was likely that the big bastard would have to worry about it in the future. The little bastard floated up from the water and anxiously roared. The big bastard had no choice but to pick it up with its mouth and put it on the deck. The little bastard happily hugged Yun Chujio's leg and did not let go. Yun Chujio saw the little bastard's behavior and basically guessed what had happened. After they were sent thousands of miles away by the big bastard's spray, the little bastard would probably quit. The big bastard's heart ached for his son, so he chased after them. But what did the big bastard want to do? Take them back to be the little bastard's nanny? Don't even think about it. If she provoked him, she would take the little bastard as a hostage. She didn't believe that she wouldn't be able to defeat the big bastard. Master Turtle, why did you rush here in such a hurry? What's the matter? Yun Chujio asked despite knowing the answer. The savage dragon-headed turtle roared a few times. Although Yun Chujio did not understand it, she had a rough idea. Ah, you mean that the son of the turtle can't bear to leave me? So you brought it to chase me? The savage dragon-headed turtle nodded and then roared a few times. It was full of helplessness and bitterness. Thinking about it, it made sense. After hatching for 3 years, the turtle's son finally hatched. Who would have thought that he would despise it at birth? Moreover, he even acknowledged the thief as his father and threatened to go on hunger strike. How was this a son? It was clearly an enemy. Master Turtle, it's too tiring for us to communicate like this. Why don't we establish a spiritual connection? After the communication is over, we can cut off the spiritual connection. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The savage dragon-headed turtle thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. This was because it felt that its spiritual power was much higher than Yunchuji's, so it was not afraid that Yunchujio would play any tricks. Thus, the man and the turtle established a spiritual connection. Little girl, don't think that this turtle doesn't know that you played tricks in my son's spiritual sense. This turtle is just worried about my son. Otherwise, I would have eaten you long ago. The savage dragon-headed turtle said angrily. It only reacted after Yunchujio left. He wanted to cut off the spiritual connection between the little bastard and Yunchujio, but the little bastard did not agree. Moreover, it refused to eat, so it clamored to find a beautiful father. This nearly angered the savage dragon-headed turtle to death. In the end, the dragon-headed turtle could not bear to part with its son, so it hurriedly chased after them. In fact, when Yunchujio and the others met the sky-devouring whale, the dragon-headed turtle had already been nearby. However, it did not go forward to help. It felt that if Yunchujio and the others were eaten by the sky-devouring whale, it would be fine. In any case, it was not the one who killed them, so the little bastard could not blame it. It did not expect that after a series of struggles, these 3 human ants would actually kill the sky-devouring whale. The savage dragon-headed turtle was very shocked. It was really curious. How did these 3 weak humans kill the sky-devouring whale? How did you kill the sky-devouring whale? The savage dragon-headed turtle could not help but ask. Yunchujio did not show it on the surface, but she cursed in her heart. It turned out that this big bastard had been watching the show from the side. It was probably trying to kill them with a borrowed knife. Since it asked, then she would scare it. Master Turtle, to tell you the truth, although the spiritual power of the 3 of us is a little weak, we didn't give it away for nothing. More importantly, we have brains. That sky-swallowing whale is so stupid that it's almost home. Naturally, it's not our match, Yunchujio said pretentiously. She didn't expect that her words would hit the nail on the head of the savage dragon-headed turtle. Although it had cultivated to level 47, it had always felt that the greatest difference between demonic beasts and humans was their intelligence. There were too many twists and turns in the human brain. Just like this little human girl, she was originally the reserve food that it had prepared for its son. Now, the turtle's son had acknowledged her as his father. It was simply unbelievable. It was no wonder that the turtle's son despised it. It did not look good, and its brain was not bright. It really could not compare to this little human girl. The more the savage dragon-headed tortoise thought about it, the more inferior it felt. Its head was about to shrink into its shell. Yunchujio was dumbfounded. What was wrong with this big bastard? After a long while, the savage dragon-headed tortoise finally gritted its teeth and said, "Little girl, back then, I wanted to feed you to my son of the tortoise, and you also did a little trick in my son's spiritual sense. We're even now. Now, I will hand the son over to you. Swear that you will treat it as your own son, or else you will die a horrible death." Yunchujio was dumbfounded. Treat it as her own son? Even if she wanted to give birth, she couldn't give birth to a little bastard. What was this big bastard doing? I gave my son to you as a spiritual pet, and you are still hesitating. If you don't swear, I would rather make the son sad and eat all of you. The savage dragon-headed turtle roared angrily. Yunchujio really wanted to shout at the savage dragon-headed turtle, "Damn it." It sounded nice, but this little bastard was as weak as a chick. What was the point of having such a spiritual pet? A certain Geo blinked her eyes. "Master Turtle, you misunderstood me. I was too overwhelmed by the favor, so I didn't react in time." Hearing Yunchujio's words, the savage dragon-headed turtle felt a little better. That's right, it had given son of a turtle to her as a spiritual pet, so she should be overwhelmed by the favor. "Master Turtle, I'm very grateful for your kindness, but I can't accept Son Turtle. Don't worry, let me finish first. You've also seen that my spiritual power is very low. If I encounter any danger, I'm afraid I won't be able to protect Sun Turtle. If something really happens to Sun Turtle, I'll let you down for trusting me." Yunchujio said so sincerely that even she herself almost believed it. The savage dragon-headed turtle nodded. "You have a good heart, little girl. Don't worry. Although son of a bitch is still very weak, I gave him his mother's turtle shell. At the critical moment, he can summon the turtle shell to protect you and his life. Hurry up and swear. Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. Son of a bitch's mother's turtle shell? This meant that either son of a bitch's mother was dead or had ascended. Which one was it? Master Gu, may I ask if your wife has ascended? Yun Chujio asked tentatively. The savage dragon-headed turtle looked impatient. Why are you asking so many questions? Why aren't you swearing? Right, you have to sign an equal contract. If my son didn't recognize you, how would you be fit to be the master of my son? Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. You bastard, keep showing off. As the saying goes, a father pays his debts, and the son pays his debts. Watch how I torture your turtle son in the future. Yun Chujio made a poison oath, and it was nothing more than a lightning strike from the sky. This bastard made a poison oath as if it was a common occurrence, and he said it very smoothly. The savage dragon-headed turtle saw that Yun Chujio's poison oath was very poisonous, and only then did it relax. Then, it said to the little bastard, Bastard son, you will follow the little girl from now on. If you encounter any danger, take out your mother's turtle shell. Do you hear me? The little bastard probably felt that he was really going to leave the savage dragon-headed turtle this time, so he more or less revealed a trace of reluctance and called out a few times in a low voice. The savage dragon-headed turtle's eyes reddened, and he gave a few more instructions to the little bastard. Then, he urged Yun Chujio and the little bastard to establish an equal contract, so Yun Chujio had no choice but to establish an equal contract with the little bastard. When the savage dragon-headed turtle saw that the contract had been formed and that Yun Chujio had also made a poison vow. Only then did it say, other than the sky-devouring whale that you killed just now, there are basically no sea beasts above level 40 in this sea area. You can feel at ease and head west. Even if you encounter a high-level sea beast, let the turtle's son summon the turtle shell to ensure that your lives are not in danger. You can leave. Yun Chujio endured it, but she still could not help but say, Master Turtle, I really don't understand. Even if the turtle's son is throwing a tantrum, you can still suppress it. Why do you want me to accept it? The savage dragon-headed turtle said unhappily, There's no need for so many W's. Just treat my turtle's son well. You will definitely benefit from it in the future. After the savage dragon-headed turtle finished speaking, it turned towards Yun Chujio and the rest of the ship and spat out a mouthful of water mist. The big ship was blown far away with a whoosh. Yun Chujio could only watch helplessly as the big bastard turned into a Xiaohei. The savage dragon-headed turtle looked at the big ship that was far away. Its eyes were filled with reluctance. It sighed, slowly changed its direction, and swam back to the island. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Daddy! Daddy! The little bastard hugged Yun Chujio's leg and kept calling out, his voice carrying a hint of sadness. Bah! Now you know how to miss your daddy? What did you do just now? You're a bastard who recognizes a thief as his father. Cough cough, you little bastard who judges people by their appearance. Yun Chujio kicked the little bastard away in disgust, then she rubbed her chin and pondered about the intentions of the savage dragon-headed turtle. It didn't make sense. Just because the little bastard was crying, he gave the little bastard to her. This bastard was so shameless. Could it be that he saw that she had a bright future ahead of her? This bastard decided that since he had already accepted it, he might as well forget about the reason. She said to the little bastard, Little bastard, take out the turtle shell that your father gave you. Let me have a look. The little bastard blinked his eyes, and then a turtle shell the size of a washbasin fell onto the deck. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. Little bastard, are you kidding me? It's so small. How are we supposed to hide in it when we're in danger? A trace of pride flashed in the little bastard's small eyes. No one knew what it was mumbling about, but the turtle shell grew bigger and bigger until the entire deck could no longer hold it. Yun Chujio quickly said, Stop. Stop. I know it can grow bigger. You should put it away first. When it's in danger, you can release it. To be honest, this bastard felt that it was better not to use it if it could. Putting aside the fact that this thing did not attract attention, the main reason was that it was too uncool. When the time came, people would say that Yun Chujio had shrunk back into the bastard's shell. It sounded very demeaning, didn't it? Yun Chujio put the little bastard into the spirit beast bag, and then saw An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao looking at her in a daze. Junior sister Xiao Jiao, am I dreaming? That big bastard ran all the way here just to give its son to you as a spirit pet? Is it sick? And Linchuan said with a dumbfounded look. Yun Chujio curled her lips. What's the use of that little bastard other than eating and drinking? If it wasn't for that bastard's shell, I wouldn't accept it no matter what. And Linchuan and Shangguan Hao looked at each other. Just keep pretending. No matter how weak the little bastard was, it was still a cub of a level 47 demon beast. It would definitely become a good helper in time. Yun Chujio saw the expressions of the two people and naturally guessed what they were thinking. She immediately felt stifled. Each of her spiritual pets had a bigger background than the other, but each of them was more useless than the other. They were all fucking babies. It was not easy for her to take in a fire-eating Xiao, but she had eaten the wrong medicine. In the next few days, just as the dragon-headed turtle of the wilderness had said, they did not encounter any high-level sea beasts. The sea beasts they occasionally encountered were mostly around level 40. Yun Chujio and Shangguan Hao worked together. It did not cause them any trouble. The three of them finally relaxed a little. If the situation continued like this, they would definitely be able to reach the shore safely. Unexpectedly, the calm sea surface suddenly became violent. The big ship that the three of them were on was like a small leaf swaying in the wind. It was thrown up and down, and after a few twists and turns, it was overturned. Yun Chujio had no choice but to put the ship back into her storage ring. Then she signaled An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao to dive to the bottom of the sea to temporarily hide from the wind and waves. As they dived deeper, the light became dimmer and dimmer. Yun Chujio took out the luminous pearl to illuminate the area. The three of them realized that there was not even a single seaweed at the bottom of the sea. It was so barren that it made them a little nervous. Not only was there no seagrass, there were not even any small fish or shrimp. It was as if they had entered a forbidden area of life. The three of them could not help but have a bad premonition. Yun Chujio was puzzled. If the situation here was strange, there was no reason for the big bastard not to warn them. Perhaps they were overthinking things? The three of them raised their vigilance and continued to swim forward carefully. Suddenly, An Linchuan cried out in surprise. Yun Chujio turned her head and saw a foot as thick as a bucket sticking out from under the sand at the bottom of the sea, pulling An Linchuan down. An Linchuan tried his best to cut the foot with the sword in his hand, but he only made a few shallow marks. Shangguan Hao used the wind blade to help him, but it still didn't cause any substantial damage to the foot. What was worse was that another foot stuck out from the bottom of the sea and trapped Shangguan Hao. Yun Chujio didn't have time to think about it. She took out a large kitchen knife and slashed at the foot. The large kitchen knife was indeed a must-have treasure when traveling at home. With one slash, it cut off one of the feet. A black, stinky liquid sprayed out from it, dyeing the surrounding seawater black. Yun Chujio quickly cut off the wrist that trapped Shangguan Hao. The black liquid still sprayed out from the wrist. The three of them tried their best to float up. Although there was a storm above, it was still much better than the hidden danger below. Junior sister Xiao Jiao, come over quickly and help me take a look. There seems to be something wrong with my foot, An Linchuan suddenly said. Yun Chujio quickly swam to An Linchuan's side to check his feet. Unexpectedly, An Linchuan suddenly picked up the sword and stabbed at her. On the other side, Shangguan Hao also shot a few wind blades at Yun Chujio. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had a defensive spiritual artifact on her, or else she would have been seriously injured. Fuck? Are you all crazy? Yun Chujio shouted angrily after retreating to a safe distance. Only then did she realize that the eyes of An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had turned blood red, looking very strange. The first thing that came to Yun Chujio's mind was the black liquid ejected from her limbs. Could it be that the black liquid had the ability to confuse people's hearts? Now it seemed that it was not just a question of confusion, It seemed to be controlling the two of them. It was really troublesome. And Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao both attacked Yun Chujio as if they had gone mad. If they really fought, Yun Chujio would naturally not be afraid of them. However, she could not hurt them, which would be troublesome. Fortunately, and Lin Chuan had a fire spirit root, so his combat ability in the water was basically negligible. This made Yun Chujio feel a little more relaxed. Before Yun Chujio could think of a solution, a whirlpool suddenly rose from the bottom of the sea, and the three of them were involuntarily sucked into the whirlpool. At this moment, the surface of the sea returned to its usual tranquility, as if nothing had happened. Yun Chujio had been trying her best to stay awake in the whirlpool, and she even bit her own lips until they bled. Now, and Lin Chuan and the others had lost their consciousness. If she could not stay awake, none of the three of them would survive. The whirlpool extended all the way down to the depths of the sea. Although Yun Chujio had a luminous pearl around her neck, she could not see anything except for the spiral-shaped whirlpool. Finally, the three of them stepped on the ground. Yun Chujio looked down and her heart skipped a beat. The pattern of the resurrection lily was carved on the green stone slab. Before Yun Chujio had time to think, and Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao attacked her again. Moreover, since they were not in the water now, their attack power had greatly increased. Yun Chujio found it even more difficult to deal with them. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and threw a bag of chili noodles at the two of them. Yun Chujio took advantage of the time when the two of them were choking with tears and tears. She gave each of them a rolling pin and knocked them unconscious. The situation was critical. Yun Chujio forced Guai Chao to make a drop of liquid. After diluting it, she poured it into Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao's mouths. It had to be said that Guai Chao was sometimes random, but sometimes it was quite reliable. After the liquid was poured in, when the two of them woke up, their eyes returned to normal. They looked at Yun Chujio blankly. "Junior sister little Jio, where is this place?" Yun Chujio let out a sigh of relief. With a serious expression, she said, "We were sucked in by the vortex. Just now, you guys sucked in that black liquid and lost your consciousness. Later, if that kind of monster appears again, you must hold your breath, understand?" Although the two of them didn't know that they had attacked Yun Chujio just now, they could guess a little bit. They looked ashamed and very uncomfortable. And Lin Chuan rubbed his eyes. "Junior sister Jio, why do I feel that my face is burning? Especially my eyes. It's so uncomfortable." Shang Guanhao also sneezed nonstop and said in confusion, "It seems like chili noodles. Why do we have chili noodles on our faces?" Yun Chujio touched her nose and began to change the topic. "You can just rinse it with water. Let's quickly see what this place is." After saying that, Yun Chujio started to look around. This was a stone room, and the floor was covered with green stone slabs engraved with the patterns of the spider lilies. The surrounding walls were engraved with murals, and Yun Chujio walked closer to take a closer look. The main character in the painting was a man wearing a red mask. Although her face could not be seen, she could feel the domineering aura of looking down at the world. The main idea of the painting was nothing more than singing praises and praising virtues, and it was extremely exaggerated, as if everything in the world was created by the red-masked man. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Could this red-masked man be the lord of the divine devil temple? Did he think that he was Pangu and Yua? Shameless. Yun Chujio noticed in the painting that strange-looking demon beasts often appeared around the red-masked man. Some of them were on land, some in the ocean, and some with wings. Among them was the monster she saw in the Tianluo mystic realm last time. Yun Chujio frowned. It seemed that the monster that she had killed last time was with the master of the divine devil temple, so why was it in the Tianluo mystic realm? Moreover, it seemed that it had been in the Tianluo mystic realm for a long time. It was really strange. Yun Chujio found another monster with arms and legs in one of the pictures. It looked very similar to an octopus, except that it had a human face. It looked extremely strange. Yun Chujio thought to herself, could this stone chamber be the nest of this monster? Just as Yun Chujio was thinking, the door of the stone chamber opened. A human-faced octopus that looked exactly like the monster in the picture crawled in. 2 of its arms and legs were broken. Yun Chujio thought to herself, looks like it was the one who attacked them at the bottom of the sea. The human-faced octopus hissed a few times, then, it said, Kiki, it's a little girl like you who has ruined the good work of our divine devil temple time and time again? Those humans are really useless. They actually let a good-for-nothing like you jump around. However, it's really God's will. I met you when I went out hunting for the first time today. I can use you to make up for it. The first time? Yun Chujio thought to herself. No wonder the big bastard did not know about the existence of this monster. So today was its first time out. So the storm on the surface of the sea was also related to it? Her fate with the Divine Devil Temple was really not shallow. She could easily meet the Divine Devil Temple's minions. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Me? You are too shameless. You are just a stinky fish, yet you call yourself me? The human-faced octopus snorted. Little girl. When I was powerful, not to mention you, even your ancestors might not have existed. If it weren't for that, do you think I would live in this low-level continent? Cut the crap and die. As the human-faced octopus spoke, a few of its limbs flew towards Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio raised her large kitchen knife and slashed at the human-faced octopus limbs. The human-faced octopus had suffered a loss from the large kitchen knife and quickly retracted its limbs. It said in a flustered and exasperated manner, "Is that the Heaven Punisher axe in your hand? What I have is none of your business. It's your bad luck to meet me today. I am the nemesis of your divine devil hall. Sooner or later, I will kill that shit owner of yours." Yun Chujio waved the large kitchen knife in her hand. Suddenly, she felt extremely heroic. Humph! You stupid girl. Do you think that I will be afraid of you just because you have the Heaven Punisher axe? As the human-faced octopus said that, it suddenly opened its mouth and countless black liquid sprayed towards Yun Chujio and the other 2. Yun Chujio was not worried about herself. She was afraid that in Linchuan and Shangguan Hao would be controlled again, so she shouted, "Put up the spiritual energy shield and hold your breath." In fact, even without Yun Chujio's explanation, and Linchuan and Shangguan Hao knew how powerful the poison was. They had already put up the spiritual power shield. However, they didn't expect that the poison was so powerful that it could even corrode the spiritual power shield with a sizzling sound. And Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had no choice but to keep releasing their spiritual power to ensure that the spiritual power shield could resist the corrosion of the poison. You stinky fish are so disgusting. You spit at me whenever you want. Today, I will give you a roasted octopus. Yun Chujio said as she raised her right hand, and several bolts of lightning struck at the human-faced octopus. The human-faced octopus twitched its mouth. Although it was afraid of lightning, such weak lightning would not cause it any harm, so it did not dodge. How would it know that these bolts of lightning were just a diversion, and there were flames of the 10,000-year-old fire marrow hidden inside? After the human-faced octopus was burned by the 10,000-year-old fire marrow, it let out a hiss and screamed shrilly, "You? How did you get the 10,000-year-old fire marrow?" "Because I'm good-looking. Unlike you, I'm neither human nor fish. Didn't you want to eat me? Pooey! You shameless monster, I'll burn you to death." Yun Chujio waved her right hand repeatedly. The lightning and the flames kept attacking the human-faced octopus. The human-faced octopus kept hissing and burning. Just when Yun Chujio thought that victory was in sight, the human-faced octopus pressed down on a bulge on the wall, and the roof of the stone room opened to both sides. Seawater surged in. "Stupid girl, let's see how you burn me this time," the human-faced octopus said proudly. Although the 10,000-year-old fire marrow was different from ordinary fire, it was still fire after all. Its effect in the water was greatly reduced, and its speed would also be much slower. Yun Chujio had no choice but to continue swinging the kitchen knife to chop the human-faced octopus limbs. However, her speed would be affected when she was in the water. Moreover, the human-faced octopus limbs were flying up and down, making it very difficult for her to cut them. she would not be able to gain any advantage at the moment. Of course, the corresponding human-faced octopus would not be able to do anything to Yun Chujio for the time being. As for An Linchuan and Shangguan Hao, they knew that they would not be able to help her if they stepped forward, so they moved far away. They didn't want to become a burden if they were controlled by the human-faced octopus. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. The human-faced octopus was a little anxious. It could not show itself for too long, so it had to end the battle quickly. It gritted its teeth and began to chant some obscure incantations. As the human-faced octopus chanted, the seawater turned into countless water arrows that shot towards Yun Chujio and the other two. Yun Chujio quickly used her spiritual energy shield to protect herself, but there were too many water arrows, so she could not hold on for too long. At this moment, the little bastard's soft voice sounded, "Father, the shell." Yun Chujio's eyes lit up, and she quickly released the little bastard. After the little bastard summoned the turtle shell, Yun Chujio and the other two hid inside, while the turtle shell fell to the ground, not moving at all. The human-faced octopus was clearly a little dumbfounded. It could be considered to be knowledgeable, but this was the first time it had encountered an enemy hiding in the turtle shell while fighting. The water arrow hit the turtle shell and made a clanging sound, but it could not cause any damage to the turtle shell. Just as the human-faced octopus was confused, a crack was opened in the turtle shell, and Hei Shinjio shot several purple lightning bolts at the human-faced octopus. The human-faced octopus saw that there was no 10,000-year-old fire marrow in it, so it did not care at all. It just slightly tilted its body to avoid the lightning bolts. It did not know that the purple lightning had secretly made a turn. It turned around and went into the human-faced octopus' 7 orifices. The human-faced octopus screamed in pain. Yun Chujio took the opportunity to swim out of the turtle shell and swung the kitchen knife at one of the human-faced octopus limbs. After repeating this a few times, the human-faced octopus limbs were cut into pieces by Yun Chujio, and the seawater was also dyed black. Why aren't you afraid of my venom? The octopus finally discovered such a huge loophole. Yun Chujio ignored it. While chopping with the large kitchen knife, she released the piglet of spiritual power to attack the face of the octopus. "Stupid girl, don't go too far. If you stop now and I let you go, we will pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, even if I don't live, you can forget about it. You will all be buried with me." The human-faced octopus roared angrily. Yun Chujio still ignored it and continued to intensify her attacks. Unless she was stupid, she would only listen to its threats. If she didn't get rid of the root of the problem, there would be trouble in the future. No matter what, she had to kill this stinky fish today. When the human-faced octopus saw that Yun Chujio was impervious, a crazy and bloodthirsty light flashed in its eyes. Its body began to expand rapidly. Yun Chujio was shocked. Was it going to self-destruct? Yun Chujio quickly jumped into the turtle shell, and then she heard a loud sound. Immediately after, the turtle shell began to roll rapidly. It was probably caused by the shockwave from the self-destruct of the human-faced octopus. Yun Chujio was glad that she had this bastard shell. Otherwise, she would have been skinned alive. This bastard decided to treat this little bastard better for the sake of this bastard's shell. However, this bastard's shell was really strong. The explosion of the human-faced octopus must have been very powerful. This bastard's shell was actually able to withstand it. It was not simple. After an unknown amount of time, Yun Chujio felt that the shaking of the turtle shell was not as strong anymore. Only then did she let the little bastard open a crack in the turtle shell. She swam out to take a look and was stunned. There was a small island not far away from them. It was originally nothing, but when she looked around, there were countless small islands around them like scattered chess pieces. Where was this place? While Yun Chujio was in a daze, she saw a pontoon rising from the water between the small islands, connecting all the small islands together. Awesome! There was such an operation? Yun Chujio only had time to put the little bastard away, and then she heard a dull bell ringing. Then, Many people jumped out from the small islands and ran along the pontoon to the small island next to Yunchujio. Those people looked no different from ordinary cultivators. Just when Yunchujio was about to get close to them, she heard an old voice say, "Greetings, Your Highness." Those people followed the old man's voice and knelt on the ground with both knees. They piously said, "Greetings, Your Highness." Yunchujio looked around. It seemed that other than the three of them, the others were all kneeling. But where was the so-called fairy? Just as Yunchujio was in a daze, an old man with white hair and a beard stood up from the crowd and walked in front of Yunchujio. "Fairy, the people of Chessboard Island have been waiting for you for tens of thousands of years. Finally, you are here." As the old man spoke, he choked up. The rest of the people also wiped away their tears. The fairy was her? She was the fairy? What a joke. "Old man, are you mistaken? I'm not a fairy, I'm just a passerby." Yunchujio quickly denied it. Although she loved to take advantage of others, it was better not to take advantage of others. The old man saw Yunchujio's denial and immediately became anxious. There is an ancient prophecy on our chessboard island. One day, a young girl will emerge from the turtle shell, and that will be the fairy of our chessboard island. You are exactly the same as what the prophecy said. How can you deny it? Heavenly daughter, quickly follow me to the main island and accept the worship of all the islanders. I really am not your heavenly daughter. Well, I still have something to do. Goodbye. As Yunchujio said that, she was about to leave, but she found that the sea area behind her had been blocked by several ships. Obviously, she had to go or not. Yunchujio's short temper immediately flared up. Damn it, you asked her to go. If she was unlucky, it would be your own fault. This guy curled the corner of his mouth. Well, since it's hard to refuse your kind offer, I'll follow you to take a look. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao naturally listened to Yunchujio, so they also followed Yunchujio. The old man was half a step behind Yunchujio to show his respect. He said with a smile, "Fairy, although our chessboard island is far from land, we have everything here. We will definitely offer you the best things." Yunchujio raised her eyebrows. "The best things? What do you have? Tell me." "Delicious spirit fruits, delicious spirit fish, and all kinds of fresh spirit vegetables. If Fairy likes them, there are many beautiful unmarried men on our island. Fairy can choose them at will. They will definitely be very willing to serve you," the old man said politely. Yunchujio stumbled and almost fell on the ground. If the gigolo knew about this stupid chessboard island would probably disappear from the immortal Yuan continent. The old man obviously misunderstood Yunchujio's meaning. A faint light flashed in his eyes, and he tried his best to introduce, "I wonder if you like the strong or the weak. Do you like the wild or the refined? Don't worry, as long as you like them, even if they are already married, I will let them leave. I will let the candidates shower and change their clothes in a while and let you choose carefully." Yunchujio's head was shaking like a rattle drum. "Just prepare some delicious food for me. Forget about handsome men. I'm still young, so I won't consider it for the time being." The old man was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, "There are plenty of delicious food on the island. I'll arrange for someone to prepare it right away." Yunchujio smiled and did not say anything. From the corner of her eyes, she glanced at the pontoons under her feet. She had just noticed that these pontoons seemed to have risen from the bottom of the sea in an instant. She estimated that there should be a mechanism or a formation at the bottom of the sea. She was calculating the success rate of escaping by force. If it were not for Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, she could have hidden in the great void mystic realm. However, she could not ignore these two people. She had to think long-term. After passing through a few pontoons, an island that was several times larger than the other small islands appeared in front of everyone. There were already many people kneeling on the island to welcome them. They had even laid a carpet on the pontoons. Yunchujio's eyes flashed. It was quite plausible. However, there was no such thing as a free lunch in the sky. She did not believe in any bullshit prophecy. Even if there was a prophecy, she did not believe that these people would be so bored as to spend half a day looking for an ancestor. They must have other plans. This fellow thought about it. Fuck, since it was your people who came looking for her, why be polite? Hence, the old man said arrogantly, "Get up." The kneeling people stood up one after another. They lowered their heads and lowered their eyebrows, not daring to look at Yun Chujio directly. Yun Chujio snorted coldly in her heart. She probably didn't dare to look directly at the old man beside her, right? The old man accompanied Yun Chujio and turned around to the front of a palace. Although the palace wasn't big, it was exquisite and luxurious. It was obvious that it was carefully built. There were 3 ancient characters written on the plaque in front of the palace. Coincidentally, Yun Chujio recognized them. It was the fairy palace. It seemed that the so-called fairy palace was not made up by the old man. What was his purpose? After the group of people entered the fairy palace, the old man let Yun Chujio sit on the throne. Yun Chujio declined and sat on it half-heartedly. The old man sat on the throne and looked down from above. Then, he saw the old man leading the group of people to kneel down and kowtow. It was nothing more than saying something about the return of the fairy. Yun Chujio curled her lips and waved her hand. No need for formalities. Get up. The group of people then stood up one after another. And Lin Xuan and Shang Guanhao looked at them in confusion. Why did it seem like a dream? How did junior sister Jiao become a heavenly lady in such a short time? The old man bowed and said, "Your Highness, I did a divination just now. 3 days from now, it will be a good day. At that time, we will prepare for your coronation ceremony. Your friends will be arranged to stay in the post house. After the ceremony, we will arrange people to send them away from Chessboard Island." Yun Chujio slapped the desk next to her unhappily. "How dare you? They are my men, so of course they will live with me. The one with a fair and clean face is my eldest husband, and the one with a dark face is my second husband. We have long worshipped heaven and earth, but we haven't consummated our marriage yet." The corner of Lin Xuan's and Shang Guanhao's eyes twitched violently. However, they knew that this was Yun Chujio's excuse, so they tried their best to bear with it so that they would not be exposed. The old man was stunned for a moment, and his eyes flickered for a moment. Then he said, "In that case, let's arrange for the 2 husbands to live together with your Highness. They'll get someone to take your Highness and the 2 husbands to the rear hall to rest." Yun Chujio and the other 2 arrived at the rear hall accompanied by a few maids. The rear hall was also built very luxuriously and beautifully. Yun Chujio naturally lived in the main hall, and Lin Xuan and Shang Guanhao were arranged to live in the east and west side halls. Yun Chujio had always been a big-hearted person. Although the current situation was unclear, she still enjoyed a petal bath. Then, she asked someone to call Lin Xuan and Chujio over to eat and drink together. The 2 of them were almost worried to death. How could they still have the mood to eat? "Since you're here, you should just take it as it is. You won't be able to solve the problem even if you're worried. Try it. These dishes taste really good. Don't worry, I've tried it. It's not poisonous," Yun Chujio said in a low voice. The 2 of them really didn't eat anything other than the chili noodles that Yun Chujio had sprinkled on their faces. Thinking that they would at least be full to death, they decided to eat whatever they could. After the 3 of them had eaten and drunk their fill, Shang Guanhao said, "I tried secretly, but the voice transmission talisman still doesn't work. I guess this place should still be at the end of the world." Yun Chujio smiled and said, "If you want to know something, why don't you just ask someone?" Thus, this guy shouted at the door, "Come in, I have something to ask you." The 2 maids standing at the door opened the door and came in. They said respectfully, "Your Highness, what are your orders? Let me ask you, what is the name of the sea outside the Chessboard Island?" "The Sea of the Setting Sun," one of the short maids said respectfully. Yun Chujio and the other 2 exchanged a glance. The Sea of the Setting Sun? They were clearly in the Sea of the Ends of the Earth. How did they end up in the Sea of the Setting Sun? Could it be that they were in the Sea of the Setting Sun? How many levels are the highest level sea beasts in the Sea of the Setting Sun? Are there any level 47 sea beasts? Yun Chujio probed without batting an eyelid. The maid was stunned. Then she said, Your Highness, there are no sea beasts above level 40 near our chessboard island. However, it is said that the highest level sea beasts in the Sea of Sunset are only around level 45. I have never heard of any level 47 sea beasts. Yun Chujio nodded. This actually did not mean anything. It was possible that the king lived in seclusion and was rarely seen by others. Now, it didn't seem necessary to be torn between the sea of the horizon or the sea of the setting sun. Therefore, she changed the topic and asked, "The old man I spoke to before said that there has always been a prophecy of the fairy on your chessboard island. What's going on?" The maid was stunned. "You mean the high priestess?" "So that old man was the high priestess?" Yun Chujio nodded. "Yes, it's that old priest. Tell me about the prophecy of the fairy and related matters. After all, I'm about to ascend the throne, so I should know something." Just as the short maid was about to speak, another tall maid tugged at her. "Your Highness, what do you want to know?" "The priest will tell you. If there's nothing else, well, clean up the table." Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. She knew that she couldn't get anything out of them, so she waved her hand, indicating for them to go ahead. After the two handmaidens left, and Lin Chuan lowered his voice and said, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, I think that old man doesn't have good intentions. If you are really a heavenly lady, why would they be wary of you?" Yun Chujio looked at Lin Chuan with a teasing look. "Senior brother, you are quite shrewd. I thought you were just a silly white sweet." Although Lin Chuan did not understand what silly white sweet meant, he could tell that Yun Chujio was teasing him. He scratched his head and said, "I'm not a fool. I just don't like to use my brain. What should we do next? There are at least 5,000 to 6,000 people on this island. Moreover, some of them can't see through their spiritual power at all. They should be higher than us. I'm afraid we have no chance of winning if we fight them head-on." There's no rush. Anyway, the fox will reveal its tail sooner or later. We won't be able to eat or drink well these days, so we can just rest here for a few days. Yun Chujio leaned back on the chair and said while blinking her eyes. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao still felt uneasy, but they could only listen to Yun Chujio and return to their rooms to rest. The next day, Yun Chujio found that the short maid had disappeared and changed to a triangular-eyed maid. It was San Jiaoyan. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that it was because the short maid had spoken too much that day that the maid had changed. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. They were really stupid. If they hadn't changed the maid, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but now they were trying to cover it up. After breakfast, Yun Chujio said to the two handmaidens, "I want to take a stroll on the various islands. You can ask the priest. However, you can tell him that if he doesn't agree, I don't think it's meaningful for me to be the heavenly lady. I'm going to leave." The two handmaidens answered unnaturally. After a moment, the two of them came in and said, "Your Highness, the priest said that you are too restrained. You are the goddess of the chessboard island. You can go anywhere you want. However, you are not familiar with the place. It is better for us servants to accompany you." Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. "Of course. Let's go. You can introduce the situation of each island to me." Yun Chujio walked at the front, and Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were half a step behind her, followed by the maids and guards. Wherever Yun Chujio passed, the islanders knelt down and kowtowed. It seemed that they really took her, the goddess, seriously. Yun Chujio secretly observed for a while and found that most of the islanders were indeed very pious. Only a few of them were obviously pretending, and they did not look like ordinary islanders from their clothes. Yun Chujio thought to herself, interesting. True or false, fake or real, what was going on? "Your Highness, this small island is specialized in weaving and dyeing cloth. The clothes of everyone on Chessboard Island are produced here," San Jiaoyan's maid introduced from the side. Yun Chujio asked curiously, "People on land use spiritual cotton or silk to weave cloth. What do you use here?" The maid with triangular eyes said with a smile, "Your Highness, there are a few small islands on the Chessboard Island that have a kind of cotton tree with thin leaves. The fruits they bear have a lot of silk, which is similar to spiritual cotton. Although it's not as comfortable as spiritual cotton, It's fine to wear it on a daily basis. As for the silk, it's made of silk from a kind of silk cotton fish in the sea. Although its luster is a little worse than silk, it still looks good when dyed with color. Yun Chujio nodded and sneered in her heart. According to what the old man said, their chessboard island had been isolated from the world for tens of thousands of years, so how could this triangular-eyed maid have seen the cotton and silk on land? And she could even talk about the difference with ease? It was simply a lie. Although Yun Chujio sneered in her heart, she looked extremely curious. After they left this island, they came to another island. The maid with triangular eyes said, "Your Highness, this island is rich in spices. Although this island is not big, the spices planted here are enough for our chessboard island to use." Yun Chujio deliberately walked to the field where the spices were planted. She picked up a handful of chilies and sniffed them. Although these chilies are red and beautiful, their spiciness is far worse than those grown on land. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. After hearing Yun Chujio's words, San Jiaoyan maid smiled and said, "Your Highness, I have not seen the land of Chile, so also cannot distinguish. However, we don't like spicy food on the chessboard island, so this kind of chili is quite suitable for our taste." Yun Chujio was surprised. Really strange, before listening to the triangle-eyed maid, she should have seen cotton and silk. How come now San Jiaoyan? Did she realize that her words had been exposed, so she made up for it? Or was there another secret? Yun Chujio asked along the way. She realized that there were more than 50 islands in the size of Chessboard Island, and each island had a different division of labor. Some specialized in weaving clothes, some specialized in growing grains, some specialized in drying salt, and so on. Basically, they could meet all of the people's needs. Along the way, the triangular-eyed maid answered Yun Chujio's questions smoothly. Although her attitude was still respectful, there was a faint impatience in her eyes. "San Jiaoyan, why are you here?" Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows and suddenly asked, "Why don't I see a spirit stone mine? Where did you get your spirit stones?" The triangular-eyed maid paused and was about to speak. Yun Chujio continued, "Don't tell me that you don't have a spirit stone mine. If you don't have spirit stones, how do your formations work? How do those floating bridges control the movements?" San Jiaoyan's eyes sparkled as she stammered, This. Another tall maid quickly said, "Your Highness, there's a fruit forest over there. Let's go and take a look." Yun Chujio knew that she wouldn't be able to get anything out of him. However, she didn't intend to get anything out of him. She was just testing him. Therefore she said, "A fruit forest? Sure, I'm very interested in spirit fruits." San Jiaoyan's maid's eyes flashed with a hint of viciousness. However, she quickly changed into a respectful expression. "Your Highness, this way please. This spirit fruit forest mainly produces yellow honey fruits. They are the kind of spirit fruits that need to be skinned and eaten." Yun Chujio nodded. This kind of yellow honey fruit was unique to the chessboard island. The juice was plentiful and the taste was sweet. It was actually quite delicious. When everyone arrived at the fruit forest, some islanders were picking yellow honey fruits. After seeing Yun Chujio, they all knelt down and bowed. Yun Chujio was about to let everyone stand up when she saw a little boy of 8 or 9 years old suddenly stand up and run to her. He knelt down and cried, "Your Highness, please save my father. I beg you." "How dare you? How dare you disturb your Highness? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take him away." The maid with San Jiaoyan shouted angrily. Immediately, a guard went to drag the little boy. A woman ran over to protect the little boy. "Sir, please spare Liang. He is young and insensible. I beg you. Stop. Do you listen to me or a maid?" Yun Chujio said unhappily. San Jiaoyan's maid quickly said, "Your Highness, you misunderstood. I'm just afraid that this child will disturb you. Besides, this child is born with a bad brain, so don't take what he said seriously." "So his brain is bad. Then I won't listen to him. You won't kill this child because he offended me, right? If that's the case, I really have no interest in the goddess of the chessboard island. Yun Chujio said with a faint smile. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. The maid with triangular eyes froze and said, Your Highness, you have misunderstood. How could we make things difficult for a child like him? Hurry up and let him go. The maid with triangular eyes said, Sanjun, let him go. Only then did the guards let the mother and son go. The little boy wanted to say more, but the woman covered his mouth tightly. Yun Chujio smiled at the little boy's mother and said, Sister-in-law, the child is sick. I won't believe his words and I won't blame him. How about this? You and your mother go and help me pick a dozen yellow honey fruits. Take it as an apology to me. The woman thanked her profusely and dragged the little boy to pick the yellow honey fruits. Yun Chujio walked to the fruit tree on the other side and asked all sorts of questions. Although the maid with the triangular eyes was impatient, she could only reply perfunctorily. San Jiaoyan, I'm sorry. After a while, the little boy and his mother brought over a dozen yellow honey fruits. Yun Chujio put the fruits into her storage ring, then she said to San Jiaoyan's maid, Don't tell me that you are going to give them a hard time with my words? If I hear the news, I will be more than enough to deal with you. San Jiaoyan's maid had an unnatural look on her face. Then she said, The words of Her Highness are the imperial edict. We will definitely follow it. We will not give them a hard time. This is for the best. Listen up. If anything happens to this mother and son, you can go and report it to me. If I, the goddess, am unable to make decisions for you islanders, I might as well return to the mainland and sell spiritual potatoes. Yun Chujio placed her hands on her hips. She spoke with a heroic spirit. The islanders quickly knelt down again, saying that the goddess was kind and kind. After Yun Chujio got everyone up, she said to the maid with San Jiaoyan eyes, Let's go. We've seen enough. Let's go back to the main island. After Yun Chujio and the others left, the woman hugged the little boy and cried while hitting him. Why are you so insensible? There's no news of your father. If something happens to you again, how will I live? The little boy stubbornly did not speak, but a trace of slyness and expectation flashed in his eyes. After Yun Chujio returned to the main island, she took a bath and changed her clothes. Then she asked the triangular-eyed maid to prepare a meal for her. She also ordered a few dishes that she liked to eat. After that, she went to San Jiaoyan. The triangular-eyed maid showed a trace of disdain in her eyes, but she still ordered someone to prepare it. Yun Chujio asked An Linchuan and Shangguan how to keep an eye on them, then she took out the yellow honey fruits. As expected, she found a cloth strip in one of the yellow honey fruits. The words on it were clearly written in blood. The handwriting was very young, and perhaps because of the rush of time, only a few words were written on it. Undersea, Spirit Stone Mine, help. Yun Chujio put the cloth strip into her storage ring, stroked her chin and pondered for a while. Although she couldn't make any sense of it, one thing was certain. There should be a spirit stone mine at the bottom of the sea, and many people had been captured to mine. No wonder there were a lot of old, young, women and children on the island, and few young and strong men. And Lin Chuan couldn't hold it in any longer. He leaned over to Yun Chujio and whispered, Junior sister little Jio, how did you know that the child would put strips of cloth in the fruit? Yun Chujio glanced at him. I was just trying. I didn't expect that the little boy was quite smart. At least he was smarter than you, senior brethren. And Lin Chuan realized bitterly that little sister Jio had begun to despise his intelligence since God knows when. Was she being kind? Shang Guanhao smiled and said, Little ninth junior sister, the day of the coronation is just 1 day away. What are your plans? I'm still useful before the coronation. I don't think that priest will do anything. But after the coronation, I think it's time to kill the donkey. Tomorrow morning, let's go to the back garden of the fairy palace. Shang Guanhao and Lin Chuan were dumbfounded. Weren't they trying to figure out a countermeasure? Why did he suddenly say that he wanted to go to the rear garden? What kind of logic was this? Before the two of them could ask in detail, the maid with the triangular eyes brought food to San Jiaoyan. Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work today. I won't go out tomorrow. I'll just admire the flowers in the rear garden." San Jiaoyan's maid couldn't wait for Yun Chujio to not go out, so she agreed immediately. After breakfast the next day, Yun Chujio brought the two husbands to the back garden of the fairy palace in high spirits. Although the garden was not big, the flowers inside were colorful and beautiful due to the meticulous care. It was a pleasant sight. Yun Chujio asked San Jiaoyan's maid the names of the flowers as she looked at them. Occasionally, she would tear off a flower and put it in a vase to enjoy. Soon, San Jiaoyan and the tall maid had a bunch of flowers in their hands. Suddenly, Yun Chujio lowered her voice and said excitedly, "There are a few spirit butterflies in front of us. Don't move. I'll go and catch one to play with." San Jiaoyan and the tall maid could help if they didn't have any flowers in their hands. Now, they were happy to relax and watch Yun Chujio catch the spirit butterflies. "This one is not good looking, no? Why is there a gap in this wing? This one is too small, no? The color of this wing is too simple, no?" Yun Chujio was never satisfied with the spirit butterfly that she caught, so she kept catching and releasing it. Perhaps she had lost her mind, and she even caught a few spirit bees by mistake. She was almost stung and cried out in fear. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, as the husband of the king, naturally couldn't just stand by and watch, so they also helped catch them. However, after handing them to Yun Chujio, this guy was not satisfied, so he played with them a few times and released them. The triangle-eyed maid despised them in her heart. So this was just a little girl who liked to eat and play, and she was not a threat at all. However, she didn't want to play with these spirit butterflies, so she didn't want to play with them. She didn't want to play with them, but she wanted to play with them. She didn't want to play with them, so she didn't want to play with them. When it was almost noon, Yun Chujio still didn't catch a spirit butterfly that she was satisfied with. This guy pouted and looked unhappy. "Forget it. These spirit butterflies look good from afar, but unfortunately, they look ugly up close. I don't want them anymore. After jumping around for so long, let's go back and have lunch. I will ascend the throne tomorrow. I won't go out in the afternoon. I will recuperate in the house and perform well tomorrow." The triangle-eyed maid despised Yun Chujio in her heart, but she said respectfully on the surface, "That's good too. Later, I will report the process of ascending the throne to you. You can familiarize yourself with it first." Yun Chujio nodded and left the back garden under the escort of the crowd. San Jiaoyan's maid served Yun Chujio after lunch. When she saw that Yun Chujio was about to take a nap, she left the fairy palace and went to the temple of the priest behind the fairy palace. A few spirit butterflies and spirit bees followed San Jiaoyan's maid, neither too far nor too close. Occasionally, they stopped on trees or flowers by the roadside. No one would suspect that these little things were spies sent by a certain Jiao. When the maid with triangular eyes arrived at the gate of the temple of the priest, the guard did not stop her. She walked straight in. San Jiaoyan was the first to enter. Not long after she entered, a few spirit butterflies and spirit bees flew into the courtyard of the temple of the priest. A guard at the gate said, "Usually, there are no spirit butterflies and spirit bees. Why did I see so many of them flying into the courtyard today?" The other guard curled his lips. "That Hong Mei is Chief Li's lover. She must have been wearing some kind of perfume. That's why all these bees and butterflies are here." Speaking of which, recently, that Hong Mei was sent to serve the heavenly daughter. Chief Li must have been hungry and thirsty for a long time. A certain Jiao on the other side heard the foul language of the two people through her spiritual sense. She was so disgusted that she almost vomited. However, her heart skipped a beat. She could roughly guess why the maid with triangular eyes had seen cotton and silk before, but not San Jiaoyan. It was probably because the so-called boss Li had given her cotton and silk clothes in order to curry favor with her. This meant that the boss Li was either an outsider or had left Chessboard Island. At this moment, the voice of a spirit bee was transmitted through her spiritual sense. Greetings, Lord Priest. The maid with San Jiaoyan bowed respectfully. What did the heavenly daughter do today? Did she show any signs of escaping? The priest's voice was different from the pious one in front of Yun Chujio. It was filled with coldness. The heavenly daughter was admiring the flowers in the back garden this morning. She picked a lot of flowers and brought them back to the house. She wanted to catch some spirit butterflies on a whim. However, she was not satisfied after catching a few, so she gave up, the maid with San Jiaoyan said with slight disdain. She's just a little girl. Keep an eye on her. After the coronation ceremony is over, I'll directly host the sacrificial ceremony and kill her to worship the sea god. Yes. Lord Priest, what about the other two men? Didn't that smelly girl say that they were her two husbands? Then kill the sea god along with her. You should go back first in case anything goes wrong. Yes. Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. Kill her to worship the sea god? This guy was afraid that the spirit bees and spirit butterflies would be suspicious if they stayed in the priest temple for too long, so he ordered them to retreat. He also sent one of the spirit bees to continue to follow the triangular-eyed maid. San Jiaoyan didn't go back to the priest temple directly. The triangular-eyed maid didn't go back to the fairy palace directly after she left the priest temple. Instead, she made a few turns and arrived at the entrance of a courtyard. Soon, a man called out to San Jiaoyan and brought her into the house. The spirit bee was very smart. It crawled through the door and began to broadcast something indescribable to San Jiaoyan. A certain Jiao's heart was like 10,000 divine beasts whizzing past her as she listened to the vivid description of the spirit bee. Damn it, this spirit bee was actually a lecherous bee. Finally, the live broadcast of the sex was over, and she heard San Jiaoyan's maid say sweetly, "Enemy, have you missed me these past few days? Baby, I've missed you to death. If it wasn't for the high priestess orders, how could I bear for you to serve others?" Did the high priestess say how to deal with that heavenly girl? Although that little girl's spiritual power is a little low, she's quite pretty. Otherwise, those lowly people wouldn't really think that she's a heavenly girl. You damned ghost. Don't tell me you are thinking about that little girl. Let me tell you, if you dare to let me down, I will tell the priest that you embezzled the spirit ore. San Jiaoyan's maid said in a sharp voice. Baby, what are you saying? I'm just saying, how can a little girl like her be as strong as you? Besides, why did I hide those spirit ores? Isn't it so that we can live comfortably when we're together in the future? You have such a good mouth. Other than some tattered clothes, you've never given me anything valuable. Moreover, our chessboard island is hundreds of thousands of miles away from land. It's as difficult as climbing the heavens to escape. If the high priestess finds out, she will definitely kill us. Besides, you can be considered as one person under 10,000 people. Why do you have to escape? San Jiaoyan's maid said worriedly. What do you know? Nowadays, the spiritual stone mines at the bottom of the sea are becoming more and more difficult to mine. Almost half of those young and strong men have died. I reckon that in the end, the remaining old, young, women, and children will have to go down to mine. When they are all dead, we guards will also have to go down to mine the spiritual stone mines. When that time comes, how will we survive? Let me tell you the truth. In the end, only the high priestess can survive here. The rest of the people will die sooner or later. The maid with triangular eyes asked in disbelief. This can't be, right? Why would the high priestess do this? If we slow down the mining speed, won't the casualties of the islanders be reduced? I'm not too sure about the specifics. Anyway, I think the high priestess wants to end this quickly. She has been planning for so many years, isn't it all for that spiritual stone mine? Alright, let's not talk about these troublesome things. Come, let's get closer, Yun Chujio frowned. The conversation between the two of them contained a lot of information. It seemed that this boss Li and the high priestess were not from Chessboard Island. They had been planning for many years, all for the spiritual stone mine at the bottom of the sea. Then the problem came. Their spiritual power was obviously higher than the islanders. They could just take it by force. Why did they have to plan this for so many years before taking action? Yun Chujio shook her head. Forget it. Let's think of a way to escape the sacrifice tomorrow. A life sacrifice? So the reason why she was trapped was to use her to sacrifice the so-called sea god? What the hell? It was a pity that he couldn't use talismans here, or else he would be blasted to death. It seemed that he couldn't fight head-on, so he could only use his wits. This guy cupped his chin and thought for a while, then snapped his fingers. That was what he was going to do. This guy smiled sinisterly. Little fellow, not only did she want to escape to heaven, but the spiritual stone mine at the bottom of the sea would also be hers sooner or later. There was no other way. This was all the fault of that old priest. Tomorrow, he would have a taste of what it meant to lead a wolf into the house. What it meant to steal a chicken and end up eating rice. What it meant to throw a stone at your own feet. What it meant to lose a wife and lose a soldier. The little black bird in the spiritual beast bag had no strength to complain. This black-hearted master was becoming more and more willing to talk big. Yun Chujio did not tell In Linchuan and Shangguan how about the situation that she had overheard, because if she told them, it would not be good if they were to be exposed. The next morning, Yun Chujio woke up early in the morning and was served with a bath and a change of clothes. The clothes she was wearing were the so-called heavens-made attire, and there was a phoenix jade hairpin in her hair. A certain Jiao looked at herself in the mirror and felt very satisfied. Shangguan Hao and In Linchuan also changed into the so-called husband-in-law's clothes. The two of them were very handsome, which made the maids look at them shyly. Little, Your Highness, you look really good in this way. And Linchuan swallowed back the question that almost came out of his mouth. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.